Hey, what's going on there, folks? Welcome back here to a Thursday night. It is the Earthmaster here. On this side of the microphone, June 20th, 2024. It's about 10:03 p.m. here, California time. Latest activity does show some movement out here into the California region with a 2.5 and also a 1.0 earthquake showing up here across the Northern California area. I want to make sure I got the bells off, which I do. Also got quite a bit of activity stirring up here across the oil fields of southern New Mexico and the Texas area. So, does look like things are a little on the amplified side out here currently with all these quakes lighting up out here. I do have one earthquake, 2.2, 15 kilometers deep, the extreme southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. That is not a super deep earthquake, but it is down there a little bit. Did have a little small quake out here in the Pacific Ocean as well earlier this afternoon. Let's check out the tremor map here tonight. As far as the Cascadia subduction zone goes, 228 epicenters of tremor. A little downturn here, but still somewhat overall elevated here in the last month. As you can see, this goes back to about 2010. Elevated tremor started about a month ago, mainly down here across the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. We got a little bit down here right now today, so that's probably why we're seeing some of this amplified conditions up here across the extreme southern end. So we'll continue to watch that. Definitely, hasn't stopped. We're still looking at Cascadia tremor out here on the elevated side. Further out and about here throughout the rest of California, I'm going to bring up the 2.5 and above map. Pretty much removes all the earthquakes except for this one. Early this morning, looks like they downgraded this. This was a 3-pointer, but, downgraded to a 2.9 here, just off of the San Andreas Fault, the southern end. Looks like that did take place here at the extreme northern end of the San Jacinto Fault Zone, along with the conjunction here, this little area where the fault system branches off the plate boundary there. So really don't see anything else in that area for now. A lot of small microquake activity up here around Ridgecrest in the 2 range, and some activity in the swarming fashion here across the this area here a little bit further down along the San Jacinto Fault Zone. So still somewhat elevated. We'll definitely keep an eye here on the west coast for some movement. Yellowstone National Park, nothing showing up there as far as earthquake activity goes. Let's double check though, see what we got. This right here, hard to say what that is. That almost looks like, see here, that really didn't show up across any other local stations here from what I can tell. So that definitely looks like some type of outside interference here, localized to the Mary Lake area. If it's earthquake activity, I guarantee you it's going to show up at some nearby stations, and I'm just not seeing it. A little odd reading, but no swarms, no unusual volcanic activity up here. Things are actually quite calm across the Yellowstone area. There's our movement down south into Texas. The rest of the country out here, as you can see, a little scattered activity. And the big island of Hawaii, still seeing some elevated conditions out here across the Kilauea Summit region. Quite a few earthquakes popping up. Nothing of major concern yet in terms of potential eruption. But I do want to double check the latest information here from the USGS in regards to Kilauea Volcano, which is still at a yellow and advisory. Mostly the earthquake activity up here south of the summit region, up towards the or down towards the upper east rift zone. Deformation data here is a key monitor to watch what's going on below the surface here, and we're still going up. As you can see here in the past week, up and up is the level. Pretty sharp incline here, a little uptick, and we really haven't seen any downward deflationary event since that eruption there on the southwest rift zone back early in June of this year. It's a really short-lived eruption. So we're just going up and up and up, and in fact, last couple days here have seen more of a sharp inflation event than ever before. So we are watching this pretty closely, and just a matter of time here before we see something happen. Let's see here. The Alaska area got a handful of earthquakes up here, specifically around this area of the Aleutian Trench. Quite a few smaller quakes, some from, I think some of those were from last night as well. Yeah, that 4-pointer there was from last night. So really nothing major, just a little bit of uptick across this area. Kuro-Kamchatka and the Japan Trench, some older activity there from yesterday and today. Fairly absent of earthquake activity in terms of 4-pointer and above for the Philippines area, but on the Earthquake 3D globe, we'll see that there's some quakes in there. Speaking of a quake, a 3.2, one of the newer quakes here across the Java Trench, extreme southern, eastern edge, I should say, of the Java Trench. Papua New Guinea did see a 5-pointer here on the globe, and we still got a little bit of swarming going on here across the New Zealand area, North Island area of New Zealand. Let me go double check that, because Timothy here mentioned something in an email that could be associated with the Taupo supervolcano, but we'll check this out here real quick. I just want to go over here to the drums and see what we have. Not for sure what that activity is. That looks a little chaotic. Taupo looks pretty quiet here. This, hard to say what it is. I don't think it's earthquake activity or volcanic activity. It looks a little odd. But as far as earthquake activity goes, yes, there is some out here in the vicinity, mainly around the North Island area. Quite a few smaller quakes out here. And some north of the Taupo area, fairly shallow, 5 to 6 kilometers or so. As you can see, there's a little bit of swarming going on there around that area. So we'll continue to watch it. Let's see what we got here for drums. See if any of that's being picked up here. Sometimes these earthquakes are so small that they won't be picked up at all. Hard to pick up these smaller quakes. I'm barely seeing them here. Maybe some of these quakes right here, but very small. Really nothing of major concern at the moment, but things can change, obviously. Let's see what else we got here across the area. South America still got quite a few quakes, and Middle America Trench showing some elevated activity here. Keep an eye on keep an eye here on the Gulf of California. A lot of times the stress here along the plate boundary does intensify, strain further upstream here where the west coast is, and of course the Gulf of California. Keep an eye on that. The Atlantic Ocean pretty quiet. Did hear about some lava or berm breaches there across the Iceland area earlier today. Seen some photos floating around. They it doesn't look like they've mentioned it on there, but I do know that they're working on this berm breach. I guess the lava overflowed one of the berms, the barriers that protects the Blue Lagoon area and the Savart-Singi power plant region. So they're working to fix that. I don't really see anything mentioned here in the official update, though. But as you can see, the latest information here still shows that we're, with this ongoing eruption, we're still somewhat a little elevated. No really sharp rise, though, yet. And live from Iceland, see if we got any visuals. Well, there we go. And I was just talking about this. There's that lava breach. I'm glad the skies have cleared out here because we've got a good view of what's going on. And you can see the people hard at work here, building up some. We're reinforcing this this area where that berm breach was, or is currently taking place. Live from Iceland.is. You can check this out. Pretty cool to watch when when things are on the uptick out here, and that breach happening here right now. Let's see what this one is. Maybe a little bit broader view. Yeah, this one shows roughly about the same. But yeah, I mean, the good thing is that this is extremely slow moving, right? And they have some time to build up maybe another protective barrier out here or divert the lava flow somewhere else, or maybe let it pool somewhere over here. But they're working out there, definitely hard at work, and doing what they need to protect the area out there. But I do understand one thing from a geology perspective is lava will flow where it's going to flow. Us humans here on this planet have found unique ways to, divert stuff like this, but eventually, the lava's going to flow where it's going to go. But hopefully these guys get everything under control there. So I'm glad the pictures are coming in, or at least the video there. Space weather real quick. I'm going to talk about some asteroids here in a little bit. Did have, looks like a little sharp impulsive M flare earlier this afternoon. Very quick, rapid M flare up in the about an M5.7 or so from the sunspot down here. It does look like it's still currently wanting to flare this area right here. These three sunspots in general have been really ramping up over the last couple days. And go figure, right now that they're starting to face away from the Earth, these sunspots will definitely harbor the potential here of seeing some stronger flaring in the days ahead with this life cycle that they're going through right now, intensifying gigantic regions there. But like I said, here in a couple days, they will be out of sight, out of mind, and we are left with a couple different sunspots out here. One of the older former sunspots, I think this was 3691, if I remember, and then 3697. I think we're just barely getting a little glimpse of it here. That was the massive sunspot here that produced numerous X flares recently, right? So 620, yeah, there it is. Former sunspot 3697. 3691 is the one up here coming around the northeastern limb. Tomorrow, in the next couple days, we'll get a third view, a third time we're watching this sunspot come around the bend, but it will be renamed to something else. So overall threat, 15% chance for an X flare, M flare at 60, C flare around 99% chance or so. No major roars in the forecast. And a few folks talking about some asteroids here, so we're just going to cover this real quick. If you go to the spaceweather.com site, they always have recent and upcoming close encounters with asteroids here on Earth. And we did have one here a couple days ago come within 0.7 lunar distances here, so that comes in between the Earth and the Moon. 22 meter diameter for the asteroid. We're still here. Everything's good. Even if something like that were to hit the planet, it would burn up. That's not a big one. But we do have some big ones coming up. Look at this. 2,304 meters. So that is a big one, folks. Something like that, if that did hit the planet, that would probably be not good. That is safely passing us at 17 lunar distances. So got to remember, one lunar distance is going to be on average, because the moon does fluctuate close to Earth and distance in a way. 238,855 miles is the average distance between the Earth and the moon. So 17 of those puts it at a very safe distance for a super large asteroid there. That's 2,304 meters. I'm not going to guess on this one, because let me check here. So we got let me see here. Meters to feet, that's going to be, wow, that's 7,559 feet. That's well over, a mile wide asteroid, and that one is safely passing us. Now, if you look a little bit further down here, June 29th, there is a little large one here, 165 meters, which is still a pretty decent size asteroid. 165 meters, 2 feet is going to be, well, that's going to be 541 foot asteroid. That's still a very large rock. That one's going to be coming roughly about 0.8 lunar distance. So in between the Earth and the Moon, 2024 MK, but there is no chance here on the Torino scale here of any type of impact. If you look on the impact risk here, Earth impact risk summary, shows 0. And for those that may not know too much on this, this is a different map. I meant to pull up this one right here, the Torino Impact Hazard Scale, and this right here gives us a number from 0 to 10 with a certain collision, right, capable of causing global climatic catastrophe that may threaten the future of civilization as we know it. None of that is in the forecast. Well, that's a pretty large asteroid. It has 0 chance of hitting us. I pulled up the orbital viewer here. Now, this is a little handy-dandy tool that is really cool to look at, right? You can adjust any type of, you can basically input any type of asteroid in here. You can add the risk list objects here, which is quite impressive because, one may think that's a lot of potential asteroids out here. Well, there's a lot more than people think. Now, the size here of these asteroids are not to scale. Literally, if I were to bring it down here, where'd they go? We're not going to be able to see them. So I have to amplify them a little bit so we can see where they're at in proximity to the Earth. Now here is 2024 MK. If you remember, 2024 MK is going to be the one that's got a decent size here coming up within go back here, 2024 MK. That's the one that's going to be coming 0.8, 165 meters. If we look here on the chart, we're going to put this into motion and show you guys. This is the asteroid, this is Earth, this is the orbit. Now, it looks like it goes inside and almost looks like a certain impact, right? Well, you got to remember this is not to scale. So this is going to be much smaller, and with that path here, they're stating that there's no chance of impact whatsoever from 2024 MK. But it's definitely going to be coming in between the Earth and the Moon. Now, the other giant one here, the one that's over a mile, is going to be this one right here, 2011 UL21. Let me switch that over here to this one. And, did not need to do that. Let's see here. Which one are we on? There we go. That's going to be the big one right here. And we'll put this baby into motion, and you will see here that it's definitely a ways away from Earth. It's a big one, though. That is a big one. But the closest that it comes to Earth is about, looks like 0.044 astronomical units here. So a considerable safe distance for sure. But definitely a big one. Don't want to have too many interactions with that. But this site, neotools.ssa, Map.esa.int is a really cool site to play with. I could be up all night looking at this. And there's a lot out here to observe. There's these urgent asteroids here that folks are keeping an eye on as well. That's the urgent list. Observational priority list. That's these other ones right here. And, there's definitely some close encounters with some of these. But, yeah, we got to keep those big ones away. That would not be good. But I think it's safe to say that, we don't have anything of major impact risk. If you remember a couple months back here, we had, I think it was about a 14-foot wide asteroid, came within about 11,000 miles. That's super close. 11,000 miles. And from the Earth, and it passed us. It didn't hit us. But I do like to watch these when they get super close like that, and that's a considerable size one if you really think about it, coming within 0.8 lunar distance. After that, looks hit and miss as far as asteroids go. Hit or miss. I don't really want to say that. That doesn't sound good, right? Hit or miss. Goodness. The next 5 close approaches here from the NASA site. And one second here. Okay, so this is today, tomorrow, 53 foot, 1 million something miles here. I don't see anything of major concern coming up at all. But what I try to cover these at least either in the morning or at nighttime. I need to start covering this in the morning because these are put out for, what's coming up for the day ahead. And I think we're okay right now, at least for the ones that are being monitored. There's always ones that are, just lurking out there that we haven't tracked yet. The Earth, has been pretty fortunate for right now, at least in our time period, that we haven't seen any major impacts out here. But there's always all these lurking out here. There's lots of them. If you back out a lot here, yeah, there's quite a bit out here. Goodness. And that's just a few of them. You'd have to add many other near-Earth object groups as well. And that would probably just shut down my computer because there's so many of them. But anyway, we need to sleep well, not worry about stuff, right? Earthquake activity is going to happen. Hurricanes are going to happen. Hurricanes, you got at least an advance warning, right? That's the thing I like about certain weather, right? Tornadoes can hit out of the blue, but hurricanes, yeah, you got a decent advance notice to get out of there or get to higher ground. Earthquakes come all of a sudden, and yeah. 1.7 there in Carson. I was looking at this earlier here. I just pulled up the Los Angeles area for 4.5 and above since I believe it was 1990, right? Yeah, 1990. 4.5 and above, specifically for the Los Angeles area. And look at that. A little scattered out here, isn't it? The last one was back in 2020 of a 4.5. We're not talking about anywhere else aside from the direct area of Los Angeles. There's many thrust faults out here. A lot of blind thrust faults, right? Those are the faults that can create a lot of power in the earthquakes. The last one, 2020. I would say we're getting close here to seeing at least a 4 to a 5-pointer out here across the Los Angeles area sometime soon. Got to be getting there. And you put that along with all the other potential fault systems out here and the plate boundary itself and many other faults out here through the West Coast. right now sitting on some borrowed time. We've been pretty quiet out here. I think Dr. Lucy Jones here, a couple months back, we were talking about some swarming out here around the Salton Sea. She thinks that things are getting to the point of where, we've been pretty quiet out here as far as larger earthquake activity, but that may be coming to an end. So we could start to see things get elevated out here in terms of earthquake movement and seeing more and, potentially larger earthquakes out here across Southern California. It's got to happen. It has got to happen here because we cannot stay quiet forever. There's quite a bit of strain out here across this area. And, and unfortunately, these blind thrust faults, some of them can be in the lower 7 range here, and that directly underneath the community would be devastating completely. So we've got to be prepared. Make sure you have, an earthquake plan. There's many resources out here on the internet. What to do to be prepared for an earthquake. Should probably be a top Google search out there. There's many things you can do. I myself live here in Northern California, and we're away from the plate boundary, but we have to worry here in Northern California about the Cascadia subduction zone. A big 9-pointer out here. I'm going to feel it quite strongly out here around the Chico and Redding area. I always make sure I have an earthquake plan, and that includes lots of totes. There's lots of totes that I utilize in order to grab and go if I need to, important documents and whatnot. Totes are they're your friend, definitely. Don't pack them too heavy, but pack a couple of different items if you need to get out of, the region. But either way, it's just got to be prepared. No one's going to actually predict when the big one's going to happen. But you can look at, obviously, these swarms, look at areas of interest, elevated displacement there in the land, and just got to look at the data. All right, folks, I think that's about it. Trying to think what else I was going to cover here. This is the possible impact effects full size range. People always wondering, well, how big of a asteroid would it take to do some damage, right? And depending on what type of asteroid it is, what's it made of, the level of impact as far as the angle and the velocity and whatnot. But average time in between years and whatnot. Yeah, it looks like 106. What was that one that we were looking at? 150 meters, right? That's up here in that local scale devastation one. So we want that big one to definitely. The big one was way over this. Probably just under the in between the 5 kilometer and the 1 kilometer one. That would have definitely global consequences there. But that one's going to pass fully, a good distance, 17 lunar distances, I believe it was. This other one, that's 150 meters, 0.8. So if that hit us, regional scale devastation, that could definitely do some damage. Average time between impacts, 20,000 years. Let's just hope that's... hopefully these big ones stay away. All right, folks, enough babbling. I am out of here. Have yourself a good night. A little bit of earthquake activity there in Japan. A couple there in Southern California. And just stay safe out there. See how things go overnight. We'll catch you guys back out here in the morning. You guys know what tomorrow is, right? Friday. Friday is upon us. Can't wait. Have a good one.